The security feed flickered as Commander Vexthar watched the human vessel drift into the capture net. Too easy. The alien's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as his crew hauled the small transport into the cargo bay. Single occupant detected, his tactical officer reported. Female. Human designation, Lila Monroe. Vexthar had studied the humans for cycles. Soft creatures. Fragile. They signed treaties, spoke of peace, traded goods across the frontier. Perfect prey for the Krathine Empire's expansion. Prepare the holding cell, he ordered. Send the demand. Her government will pay well for her return. What Vexthar didn't know was that Lila Monroe wore an engagement ring. What he couldn't predict was that her fiancé, Connor Hayes, was 3 systems away when he received her distress beacon. Connor stood on the bridge of his mining hauler, the Wanderer, staring at the emergency signal that had just burned through subspace. His hands trembled. The message was automatic, triggered when her ship's systems were compromised. Captured. The word blazed in his mind like a star going nova. Connor, we need to report this to... His co-pilot started. No. Connor's voice came out flat, dead. Plot a jump to her last coordinates. That's Krathine space. We're a civilian vessel. We can't. Connor turned. His co-pilot, a veteran named Greg Shaw, stopped talking. Something in Connor's eyes made him step back. I wasn't asking, Connor said. He moved to the weapons locker, punching in the override code. The Wanderer wasn't military, but frontier space demanded protection. The locker unsealed with a hiss. You'll start a war, Greg whispered. Connor pulled out a plasma rifle, checked the charge, grabbed 3 more. They started it when they touched her. His fingers flew across the console, bypassing safety protocols he'd installed himself. The Wanderer's engines weren't meant for combat maneuvers, but Connor had built them. He knew every circuit, every power coupling. Jump in 2 minutes, he said. You're either with me or you're taking an escape pod now. Greg stared at him for 5 long seconds. Then he sat down at the weapons station and began bringing the defense grid online. She makes good coffee, Greg muttered. Be ashamed to lose that. Connor didn't smile. Couldn't. Every second Lila spent in alien hands was a second too long. The Krathine thought humans were docile because humanity chose peace. They were about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being capable of it. The jump drive screamed as Connor pushed it past Redline. Warning klaxons wailed. He silenced them with a slap. 30 seconds, he said. His hand touched the photo welded to the console. Lila, laughing, her hair catching sunset light on New Terrace Colony. The universe twisted. The Wanderer leaped through space. And Connor Hayes went to war. Connor's hauler dropped out of jump space like a meteor bleeding fire. The Wanderer wasn't built for this. Hull plating screamed. Coolant systems redlined. He didn't care. Krathine destroyer bearing 270, Greg called out. They're hailing us. Ignore it. The enemy vessel loomed on their screens, a massive wedge of dark metal bristling with weapon ports. It dwarfed the Wanderer 50 times over. Standard protocol said run. Surrender. Negotiate. Connor accelerated straight toward it. They're locking weapons, Greg said, his voice tight. Good. Means they see us. Connor's hands danced across the helm. Divert all power from life support to forward shields. We only need to breathe for the next 3 minutes. That's insane, probably. The Krathine fired. Plasma bolts shrieked across the void. Connor threw the Wanderer into a spin that would have torn a normal pilot's consciousness apart. The shots missed by meters. Warning lights painted the bridge red. He wasn't trying to win a space battle. He was trying to get inside their shield perimeter. Ventral cannons charging, Greg reported. He'd given up questioning. Now he was just holding on. Connor watched the distance counter plummet. 2,000 meters. 1,500. The Krathine vessel was rotating, bringing more weapons to bear. Too slow. They thought, like military. Predictable. Psst. Safe. Connor thought like a miner who dodged asteroid storms and solar flares to make payroll. 1,000 meters. All power to forward ram, he shouted. We don't have a ram. We do now. The Wanderer's reinforced mining prow, designed to break apart ice asteroids, slammed into the Kratheen destroyer's shield generator housing. Metal shrieked, sparks exploded in cascades of white fire. The shields collapsed. Connor reversed, thrust, the Wanderer's engines howling in protest. The alien ship's hull had a fresh scar, and more importantly, a breach. "Suiting up?" Connor said, already moving toward the airlock. "You're going over there?" Greg stared at him. "Connor, there's 200 Kratheen on that ship. Then I better move fast." He sealed his helmet, checked his rifle's charge. "Keep the Wanderer close. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, jump away and tell Central Command what happened here. And if you are back..." Connor's smile was cold enough to freeze helium. "Then I'm bringing Lila with me." He stepped into the airlock. The void beyond was 300 meters of empty space between him and the breach. He activated the mag boots, checked the tether line, and jumped. No safety net. No backup. Just a man and the darkness between stars. Inside the Kratheen vessel, Vexthar was screaming orders. "Seal that breach! Get damage control teams. Commander, the human is inside our ship." Vexthar's mandibles froze. "One human? Send security Team Alpha. Neutralize him." Team Alpha is already en route. The corridor lights flickered. Somewhere in the ship's guts, Connor Hayes moved like a storm through a graveyard. He'd studied the schematics during the jump. Every Kratheen destroyer followed the same basic design. Holding cells were mid-deck, port side. 3 Kratheen soldiers rounded the corner, weapons raised. They saw a human in a mining suit carrying what looked like a civilian rifle. They died before they could process the threat. Connor didn't stop moving. Didn't think. Thinking meant feeling, and feeling meant remembering Lila's laugh, her smile. The way she said his name, that would slow him down. 4 more soldiers. A barricade. Plasma fire lit the corridor like lightning. Connor dropped, slid, came up firing. His shots were precise. Economical. Every pull of the trigger meant one less obstacle between him and Lila. "All teams, converge on middeck," Vexthar ordered. "This human is more dangerous than anticipated. More dangerous." The words were insufficient. Connor wasn't just dangerous. He was inevitable, a force of nature wearing skin and fury. He reached the holding cell corridor. 6 guards stood watch, their weapons tracking his approach. They opened fire simultaneously. Connor had already moved. He'd anticipated their firing pattern, their training, their response time. A mining hauler captain learned to think in 3 dimensions, to see patterns in chaos. The guards dropped. Connor stepped over them without pause, his eyes locked on the cell door ahead. Behind that door was everything that mattered. His hand hit the release panel. Sparks flew as he overrode the lock with a plasma torch. The door opened. Lila stood inside, her eyes wide. She saw Connor, covered in scorch marks and alien blood, holding a rifle like an avenging angel. "Hi, honey," Connor said. "Sorry I'm late." Lila's shock lasted half a second. Then she grabbed the weapon from the nearest fallen guard and fell into step beside Connor like they'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. "They took my ship," she said, her voice steady despite everything. "I'll buy you a new one. I liked that ship. Then we'll take theirs." They moved through the corridor as alarms shrieked overhead. Connor led. Lila covered their rear. No wasted words. They'd been together 5 years. Some things didn't need explaining. A blast door started sealing ahead of them. Connor fired at the control panel, but it kept closing. 3 seconds until lockdown. Lila threw a plasma grenade she'd stripped from a guard. It detonated against the door mechanism in a shower of molten metal. The door froze halfway. They slid under it as Kratheen reinforcements rounded the far corner. 40 hostiles, main corridor, Lila reported, glancing at a wall display. "They're herding us toward the bridge. Let them." Connor's jaw was set. "I want to meet their commander." Vexthar watched the security feeds with growing disbelief. 2 humans. They'd eliminated 16 of his soldiers and were advancing deeper into his ship. This wasn't possible. Humans were peaceful, diplomatic, weak. All remaining forces. "Fall back to the bridge," he ordered. Prepare defensive positions. His tactical officer's antennae quivered with fear. Commander, perhaps we should negotiate. Negotiate? Vexthar's mandibles snapped shut. With prey? We are Krathene. We are conquerors. They don't fight like prey. Then we'll teach them what happens when prey forgets its place. 30 soldiers formed a kill box outside the bridge entrance, overlapping fields of fire. Nowhere to hide. It was perfect. Connor and Lila reached the junction point and stopped. He studied the situation for 3 seconds. They're expecting us to charge, Lila said. Connor pulled a maintenance hatch open. So we go up. They climbed into the ship's ventilation system, moving through cramped passages barely wide enough for human frames. Krathene were larger, thicker. They'd never fit. You know where we're going? Lila whispered. Engineering is 1 deck down. If I'm reading these layouts right, he dropped through another hatch into a different corridor, empty. We can cut life support to the bridge level. That's ruthless. They took you. His voice went flat again. Ruthless doesn't cover what I'm feeling. They reached engineering 3 minutes later. 2 technicians looked up in shock as Connor and Lila entered. Neither was armed. Connor gestured with his rifle toward the corner. Sit. Don't move. You'll live. They sat. Lila worked the console, her fingers flying over alien controls. She'd always been good with systems. Life support isolated. Venting atmosphere from bridge level in 10 seconds. Wait. Connor's hand stopped her. An idea formed, cold and perfect. Can you reroute it? Flood that level with pure oxygen instead. Lila understood immediately. Her smile was sharp. 1 spark and the whole level becomes a fireball. Give them 30 seconds to figure it out, then I'll provide the spark. She made the adjustments. Oxygen levels on the bridge deck began climbing. 60%. 70. The Krathene soldiers would be feeling it now, their lungs burning, confusion setting in. Connor opened a comm channel. Voice boomed through the destroyer's speakers. Attention, Krathene vessel. This is Connor Hayes. You took my fiancée. Bad choice. You have 30 seconds to abandon the bridge level, or I turn it into an incinerator. Your commander can come out, or he can burn. I genuinely don't care which. Silence. Then, scrambling sounds. Boots on metal. The soldiers were running, all except Vexthar. On the security feed, they could see him standing alone on his bridge, mandibles quivering with rage. You think you've won, human? His voice crackled over the comm. You think one small victory matters? The Krathene Empire spans 100 worlds. We'll crush your entire species for this insult. Connor's expression didn't change. 15 seconds. We are inevitable. We are 10 seconds. Vexthar finally moved, rushing toward the bridge exit. He made it 3 steps before his pride brought him back to the command chair. He sat, his posture defiant even in defeat. I will not run from prey, he declared. 5 seconds. Connor raised his rifle aimed at a plasma conduit visible through the bulkhead. Your choice. You're bluffing. Humans don't, Connor fired. The plasma bolt punched through the wall, through the conduit beyond. For 1 microsecond, nothing happened. Then the oxygen-rich atmosphere on the bridge level ignited. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. It didn't breach the hull. Connor had calculated that precisely, but it turned the bridge into a furnace. Emergency systems triggered, foam suppressant flooding the compartment. When it cleared, Vexthar was gone. Just ash and twisted metal remained. The other Krathene are evacuating to escape pods, Lila reported, watching the sensors. The ship's ours. Connor lowered his rifle. His hands were steady. His breathing was calm. But when Lila touched his arm, she felt him trembling. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered. You didn't. She pulled him close. You never will. Outside, Greg's voice crackled over their comm. Connor? Lila, please tell me you're both alive. We're good, Connor replied. And we've got a new ship. Lila, think you can fly a Krathene destroyer? She grinned. Let's find out. The Krathene destroyer limped through space under new management. Leela sat in the commander's chair, her fingers learning alien controls with the same quick adaptation that made her an excellent pilot. Connor stood beside her, monitoring damage reports. Hull integrity at 70%, he read. Weapon systems partially functional. Jump drive needs 12 hours minimum for repairs. We don't have 12 hours. Lila pulled up a star map. I'm reading 6 more Krathene signatures inbound. They're responding to the distress beacon. Greg's voice came through from the Wanderer, still docked against their hull. So we run, right? We got Lila back. Mission accomplished. Connor's eyes narrowed at the tactical display. 6 destroyers. Each one carrying crews that thought humans were soft targets. Each one probably holding more captives, more prey they'd snatched from peaceful vessels. No, he said quietly. We don't run. Lila turned to look at him. She knew that tone. Connor, we can't fight 6 destroyers with a half-broken ship and 3 people. We're not going to fight them. His mind raced through possibilities, calculations, the kind of creative problem-solving that kept miners alive in deep space. We're going to make them fight each other. He pulled up the Krathene communication protocols he'd sliced from the ship's database. Military frequencies, command codes, fleet coordination systems, all of it encrypted. But encryption was just math. Math could be broken. The Krathene operate on strict hierarchy, Connor explained, his fingers flying across the console. Every captain wants to climb the ladder. They're competitive, aggressive, and arrogant, Lila added, catching on. They wouldn't expect deception from prey species. Exactly. Connor cracked the first encryption layer. So we give each incoming captain a different story. Tell Captain 1 that Captain 2 is planning a mutiny. Tell Captain 3 that Captain 4 stole his glory. Tell them all that there's a promotion waiting for whoever reaches us first. Greg's laugh crackled over the comm. You're going to start a civil war over one hijacked destroyer. Not a war. Just enough chaos to slip away. Connor paused. Or something better. Lila raised an eyebrow. Define better. You ever played dominoes? The first Krathene vessel arrived 17 minutes later. Captain Zexnar's destroyer dropped out of jump space ready for battle, only to receive an urgent message on command frequency. Captain Zexnar, this is Fleet Coordinator Vexthar. Captain Crotan is attempting to claim credit for the human capture. Do not let him reach the prisoners first. This is your chance for advancement. Zexnar's mandibles clicked with anticipation. He'd suspected Crotan of undermining him. Now he had proof. The second destroyer arrived. Captain Crotan received his own message. Zexnar has betrayed the Empire. He's negotiating with the humans. Stop him by any means necessary. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th vessels jumped in simultaneously. Each captain received carefully crafted lies, each one designed to redirect their aggression away from the damaged destroyer at the center and toward each other. They're spreading out, Lila reported, forming a perimeter. This is working. Connor wasn't satisfied. Not good enough. We need them committed. He opened a channel to all 5 ships simultaneously using Vexthar's command codes. His voice, processed through a translator to sound Krathene, boomed across their bridges. This is High Command. The human vessel contains intelligence worth 10,000 credits to the captain who secures it. First claim only. Consider this a field promotion opportunity. 10,000 credits. In Krathene economy, that was generational wealth. The effect was instantaneous. Captain Zexnar fired his engines, burning hard toward the center position. Captain Crotan matched his acceleration, unwilling to be beaten. The other 3 captains adjusted course, converging on the same point. They're going to collide, Greg breathed over the comm. Not quite. Connor watched the vectors with a miner's eye for trajectories, but close enough. The 5 destroyers reached weapons range of each other before they reached the center. Old rivalries, fresh provocations, and the promise of wealth created a volatile mixture. Captain Zexnar fired first, a warning shot across Crotan's bow. Crotan returned fire, not as a warning. Within seconds, all 5 vessels were engaged in a furious firefight, their weapons tearing into each other instead of the humans. Jump drive is online. Leela announced. We need to go now. Wait. Connor pulled up long-range sensors. There's a 6th ship. It hasn't arrived yet. So, 5 is more than enough chaos. The 6th one is different. He enhanced the sensor return. The signature was larger, more powerful. That's a battlecruiser, flagship class. Probably contains whoever's in charge of this sector.
Lila understood immediately.
You want to send them a message? I want to send all of them a message. Connor began recording. Attention Kratheen Empire. My name is Connor Hayes. I'm human. You captured someone I love, so I took your ship, killed your commander, and turned your fleet against itself. Consider this a learning opportunity. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. Humanity chose peace. We chose trade, cooperation, coexistence. You mistook that choice for weakness. Don't make that mistake again. We can be neighbors, or we can be what you just witnessed. The choice is yours. Connor transmitted the message on every Kratheen frequency, military and civilian. Then, he wiped the ship's navigation database and set the self-destruct timer for 30 minutes. Everyone back to the Wanderer, he ordered. Time to go home. They crossed back through the docking tube as the 5 Kratheen destroyers continued their battle. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers in the void. By the time they sealed the Wanderer's airlock, 2 of the destroyers were drifting hulks. The battlecruiser arrived just as Connor initiated their jump sequence. On its bridge, Admiral Thexcor watched the recording of the human's message 3 times. Then, he watched his own captains destroy each other over lies and greed. Then he watched the stolen destroyer explode, taking all evidence with it. Find everything about this Connor Hayes, Thexcor ordered quietly, and send word to the Empire Council. We may have miscalculated regarding the humans. The Wanderer jumped, leaving only wreckage and questions behind. The Wanderer emerged from jump space near Frontier Station Carthage, humanity's outermost settlement. Connor expected quarantine protocols, maybe a military escort. What he got was a battle fleet. 12 human warships hung in formation around the station, their weapons hot, their shields up. The moment the Wanderer's signature registered, every gun tracked toward them. This is Admiral Patricia Kane of the Terran Defense Fleet. Unidentified vessel, powered down and prepared to be boarded. Connor exchanged glances with Lila. We're not unidentified. This is the Wanderer. Registration number. We know who you are, Hayes. That's why we're here. The docking procedure was anything but friendly. Marines in full combat armor escorted them from their ship to a detention area. Not a cell, but close. Greg protested until a lieutenant quietly told him to shut up or join the brig. Admiral Kane arrived an hour later. She was tall, gray-haired, with eyes that had seen too many battles. She dismissed the guards and sat across from Connor and Lila, without preamble. Do you have any idea what you've done? Her voice was controlled fury. Rescued my fiancé, Connor replied evenly. You attacked a Kratheen military vessel, killed their commander, destroyed 5 more of their ships through manipulation, started what might become an interstellar war. Kane leaned forward. The Kratheen Empire has 1,500 warships. We have 93. They're calling for your head and threatening full-scale invasion if we don't deliver it. Lila's hand found Connor's under the table. So deliver it. I won't let him face this alone. Nobody's delivering anyone, Kane said sharply. But we need to understand what happened out there. The Kratheen are claiming you massacred 200 crew members in cold blood. 47, Connor corrected. And they weren't in cold blood. They were between me and Lila. Kane pulled up a holographic display. It showed Connor's recorded message, the one he'd broadcast across Kratheen frequencies. She played it through. This message has spread across 17 star systems, she said when it finished. Human colonies are calling you a hero. The Kratheen are calling you a war criminal. And the galactic community is watching to see what humanity does next. What do you want me to say? Connor's voice was tired. That I regret it? I don't. They took her. They thought we were easy targets because we prefer peace. Someone needed to show them otherwise. One man doesn't get to make that choice for an entire species. One woman didn't deserve to be taken. Connor met Kane's eyes. You've read the reports. The Krathen have been pushing boundaries for months, taking ships, demanding tributes, testing our resolve. I just gave them an answer. Kane was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed and pulled up another display. 6 hours ago, the Krathen Empire contacted the Galactic Council. They're demanding reparations and your extradition. But here's the interesting part. She expanded the data. 43 other species have filed complaints against the Krathen in the last cycle. Kidnappings, piracy, territorial violations. Everyone's been too afraid to push back. Until now, Leela said quietly. Until now. Kane shut down the display. Your message didn't just reach the Krathen. Every species in Council space heard a prey species bite back, and they're watching what happens next very carefully. The door opened. A man in civilian clothes entered, his bearing marking him as important despite the lack of uniform. Secretary of Defense Marcus Webb. Admiral, if you'd give us the room. Kane stood, gave Connor one last unreadable look and left. Webb sat down slowly. The President wants to court-martial you. The Joint Chiefs want to recruit you. The Diplomatic Corps wants you to disappear. Me? I want to understand who you are. I'm a miner who lost his temper. You're a civilian who single-handedly changed the strategic balance in this sector. Webb pulled up tactical analysis. Our intelligence officers have been studying what you did. The penetration of their shields, the psychological manipulation, the precision violence. These aren't skills you learn hauling ice asteroids. Connor said nothing. Your file says you were civilian your whole life, but I pulled your father's records. Drake Hayes, Marine Corps, Force Recon. Died on Proxima Station when you were 16. My father taught me to survive, Connor said quietly, and to protect what matters. He taught you well. Webb leaned back. Here's our situation. The Krathen want blood, but they're also confused. You proved. Humans aren't the soft targets they assumed. Other species are reconsidering their positions. And we're in the middle, trying to decide who we want to be. I didn't mean to start anything political. You started a war, Hayes. Question is, what kind of war? Webb stood. The Karathi ambassador is arriving tomorrow for negotiations. You're gonna be there. What? Why? Because they need to see you, not as a monster, not as a hero, as what you actually are. Webb moved toward the door. A man who refused to accept that peace means submission. That might be the most human thing there is. He left. Leela squeezed Connor's hand. You okay? She asked. Connor looked at her. Really looked. The woman he'd crossed hostile space to save. The woman who grabbed a weapon and fought beside him without hesitation. The woman who made everything else make sense. I'm home, he said. Everything else we'll figure out. Outside, the fleet maintained its vigilant position, and across the void, the Krathen Empire began to understand that humanity's choice of peace had always been exactly that, a choice. The negotiation chamber on Frontier Station Carthage was designed for diplomacy. Neutral colors, comfortable seating, translation systems built into every surface. Connor felt like he was wearing someone else's skin in the formal suit they'd given him. Leela sat beside him, equally uncomfortable in diplomatic attire. Across the table, 3 Krathen representatives waited, their mandibles clicking in what Connor had learned was suppressed aggression. Ambassador Thexkor, the same admiral who'd witnessed the destroyer battle, led their delegation, his eyes fixed on Connor with barely contained rage. You murdered Commander Vexstar, Thexkor stated. Destroyed 5 vessels, caused the deaths of 317 Krathen citizens. Secretary Webb started to respond, but Connor raised his hand. I gave Vexstar a choice, Connor said calmly. He chose pride over survival. The 5 captains destroyed each other over greed. I just showed them who they really were. You manipulated our communication systems, violated our protocols. You violated my fiance's freedom. Connor's voice remained steady. You thought humans were docile because we avoid conflict. You confused restraint with inability. Buh! Thexkor's mandibles snapped. One human cannot threaten the Krathen Empire. I'm not threatening anyone. Connor leaned forward. I'm explaining reality. You took someone I love, I responded. That's not political. That's personal. But you made it political when you assumed all humans would react the same way to aggression. Then how do humans react? Thexcor demanded. Connor glanced at Webb, who gave a slight nod. We adapt, Connor said. For 200 years, humanity fought itself, wars that nearly destroyed our species. We learned what violence costs. So we chose peace, chose cooperation, chose to be better. But that choice doesn't erase what we're capable of. It just means we're capable of choosing. He pulled up a holographic display showing human settlements across frontier space, 70 colonies, 2 million civilians, families, farmers, miners, teachers. They chose peace too. But every single one of them watched what happened when you took Lila. And every single one of them is reconsidering what peace actually means. The implications hung in the air. Fexcor's expression shifted from rage to calculation. You're saying one incident could change your entire species' philosophy? I'm saying you reminded us of something we'd forgotten. Connor's voice was quiet now. That peace, without the ability to defend it, is just waiting to be conquered. You thought we were prey. We thought we were beyond violence. We were both wrong. Lila spoke for the first time. The question isn't what happened, it's what happens next. Thexcor studied them both. The Empire demands justice. Then let's talk about justice, Webb interjected. Your forces have taken 47 human vessels in the past year, demanded tribute from our colonies, violated our territory repeatedly. Where's the justice in that? We are Krathine. We take what we can hold. Then you can hold the consequences. Connor stood. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'd do it again. But I don't want war. Neither does humanity. The choice is yours, just like it was Vexthar's. The chamber fell silent. Thexcor's mandibles clicked slowly, processing. Finally he spoke. The Empire will withdraw from human territories. No reparations, no admissions. We simply reassess our strategic priorities. And the humans you've captured? Lila pressed. Released within 10 cycles. Webb nodded. Acceptable. In return, humanity agrees not to pursue further action regarding the incidents. Thexcor stood, his massive form towering over the humans. You should know, Hayes. Your message reached far beyond the Krathine. 6 other species have contacted the Empire requesting renegotiation of treaties. You've changed the balance. I just wanted her back, Connor said simply. Yes, that may be the most dangerous thing of all. Thexcor moved toward the exit. Beings who fight for love are unpredictable. We prefer predictable enemies. The Krathine delegation left. Webb exhaled slowly. Well, that went better than expected. You're free to go. Both of you. Though I suspect you'll be seeing a lot more of military recruiters. Connor shook his head. I'm not a soldier. I'm a miner who wants to marry his fiancée and get back to hauling ice. You're a symbol now. That comes with complications. Then the symbol can file reports from the frontier. Connor took Lila's hand. We're going home. 3 weeks later, the Wanderer drifted near an asteroid field in the outer rim. Connor and Lila stood on the observation deck, watching rocks tumble through space. Greg says the modifications are almost done, Lila said. Better shields, upgraded weapons. Just in case. Just in case, Connor agreed. She turned to face him. Do you regret it? Any of it? Connor thought about the question, about the violence, the deaths, the weight of what he'd done. Then he looked at Lila, alive and whole beside him. No, he said. I regret that it was necessary. But I don't regret doing it. The Krathine released all the prisoners yesterday. 47 people gotta go home because of what you did. Because of what we did. Connor pulled her close. You grabbed a weapon and fought beside me. That message wasn't just mine. Lila smiled. So what now? We go back to mining? Pretend we're normal? We were never normal. Connor kissed her forehead. But we can be happy. That's enough. The Wanderer's engines hummed to life. Somewhere in the galaxy, species were reconsidering what humanity meant. Alliances were shifting. The balance of power was changing. But in the cockpit of a small mining hauler, Two people who'd chosen each other over everything else set course for home. The Krathene had learned that humans weren't docile. Humanity had remembered it wasn't defenseless, and Connor Hayes had proven that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe wasn't an empire or an army.